Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the debut episode of Race Grit with Gunner. Today, we're just talking about NASCAR season, early NASCAR season, and then we'll get into my playoff predictions and my eventual championship four and my pick to win the entire season itself. So without further ado, let's talk about what we've seen this season. William Byron winning the Daytona 500. Honestly, I'm not surprised by the win. And me personally, I like William Byron. So I think that win was just great. And no doubt will he be in the playoffs and maybe potentially the final championship four. So then after we had the Daytona race, we obviously had the Atlanta race with the three-way tie between, or not three-way tie, but the three-way finish between Blaney, Suarez, and different guy that I can't think of right now. But Daniel Suarez coming in with the win. That was a shocker. As me potentially, I haven't really heard of his name in quite some time. But that win at Atlanta was just a doozy. And of course, we got Christopher Bell. He has a win under his belt, and Denny Hamlin has 2 wins under his belt this season. One last night at Richmond, and the other coming in at the Circuit of Americas, I think. Yeah, the Circuit of Americas. So those drivers are automatically in the playoffs. Even though the Denny Hamlin win at Richmond was kind of a controversial, to say the least, with the people, NASCAR fans, saying that he jumped the line, and NASCAR saying that he in fact did not jump the line when he did. So that stays official. The runner-up for that race, and my personal favorite driver, Joey Logano. I really thought that the win should have went to him because of the line jumping. And I'm not saying that to be biased. I'm saying that as from an analyst's point of view. And so there's only so much we can do about that, and that is really nothing. So now let's talk about my playoff predictions. So right now I have Christopher Bell, Hamlin, Suarez, and William Byron in the playoffs, and then I do have Joey Logano making it with potentially 2 wins under his belt. When or if those will occur, I do not know, but I do think he will get 2 wins this year. And then we got the reigning champion Ryan Blaney, another Team Penske driver, coming into the playoffs in round of 16. And with Ryan Blaney, I will say that he may be a Team Penske driver, but honestly, I'm I'm astounded that he won. Even though I did only start watching NASCAR this year, I did see some of his previous clips and some of his previous racing, and I will say that I am surprised that he can call himself a NASCAR Cup Series champion, and that's not me hating on him. That's just from me. I'm just saying it to, just spread my opinion out there. And one thing about this show is that I will voice my opinion on drivers. So, without a further ado, let's get into the rest of the drivers in the playoffs that I think will go to the playoffs. So then that comes to Martin Truex Jr. Man, that season he had last year, man, he rarely finished outside of the top 10 last year, and somehow was a first round exit. Not only was that heartbreaking to Truex Jr. fans, but just to Truex in general. So then, in the seventh seed, or seventh driver, I do have Chase Elliott. Now, Chase Elliott, I think he's a really good driver. I think he's really just a good individual, good race car driver. And 8, I do have, as much as it pains me to say it, I have Kyle Busch. I'm not a Kyle Busch fan whatsoever. I despise Kyle Busch, is what I'm trying to say. And like I said, I'm going to voice my opinions, and I'm going to let my opinions be heard on this show, whether people like it or not, if people listen to this. So, 10, I do have Chris Boucher. I have him making it. What a run he had last year. People thought that, Chris Boucher, people really didn't think he'd make the playoffs, let alone the round of 12. Man, what a season he had last year, and if he could keep up what he's been doing and rack up them points and potentially win some races like he did last year, then yeah, we'll see where that goes from there. 11, man, really tough to say, but I have Ty Gibbs. I have Ty Gibbs making it into the playoffs. Ty Gibbs, from what I've seen, he's an excellent racer. He's proven to be, right now, he has proven to be a really good driver. He's got a few top 3s under his belt, top 5s. Right now, we can only hear so much about him, but I think that potentially I think he could go deep. I really think that he can go deep into the playoffs and the playoff format and all the other fun jazz that occurs in the playoffs. 12, I do have. I love Kyle Larson. Love what he does on the track. Off the track, that's a little iffy from his statement back in 2020 to Bubba Wallace, but we're not here to talk about the negatives. We're here to talk about the positives. And the positive, I think the positive is that Kyle Larson will be in the playoffs, and he will make a run. And at 13, I do have Ross Chastain making it into the playoffs. He's proven to be a great driver. of course, coming from a watermelon farm family, generations upon generations of that. He's good on the track, and I respect what he does. Uh, respect what he can do on the track and what he can do just racing in general. And that number one car, um, man, I really think that there is potential in him being a NASCAR Cup Series champion in the near future, rather that be this year, next year, or years after that. And at number 14, I do have I have Bubba Wallace at the 14 position. Bubba Wallace, it was real heartbreaking to see him go home so early during the last season's uh, playoffs, but there's only so much you can do with a team that, just started with Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan. You gotta not only you can only not only just work with what you have, but you also have to become a better driver. Now, this is not me dogging. This is not me talking trash on Bubba Wallace. These guys have way more talent than I do and way more experience than I will ever have driving a NASCAR stock car, any kind of car in general. But it was real heartbreaking to see him fall so short last year. And man, you can only do so much with what little you have. At number 15. 15, I do have Brad Keselowski. Um, I mean, what can there be said about Keselowski? Keselowski, despite my opinions on him, I mean, he can win. I mean, that's all I'm gonna say is he can win. He can punch his way to the playoffs, and from there, we'll just have to see what happens from there. I mean, he's gonna have to win, of course, but there's only, again, so much you can do with so little. And last but not least, at the 16 position, or the 16th driver, I do have Austin Cindric. So I do have all three Team Penske drivers making it to the playoffs. This this is not bias. This is just from my viewing and my predictions only. But yeah, you can include some other guys in here, like a few other guys. But again, these are my predictions. This is what I'm going to do. This is my show. So yeah, I do have Austin Cindric sneaking his way into the playoffs, and with what he can do, again, he's proven to be a really good racer. He's just got to capitalize on the opportunities to win, and sometimes those opportunities don't come to you, but you have to go to them, and got to take opportunities to win. And not only that, but you got to work with so much than what you've got. Now, my championship 4, the championship 4, we're just going to talk about that straightforward, skipping all the rest of the stages of the champion or the playoffs, and we're just going to go straight into championship 4. So my championship 4 contains championship 4. I do have Christopher Bell, Denny Hamlin, Joey Logano, and Chase Elliott. Now, here's why I've chosen these 4 guys. For one, every even-numbered year, Joey Logano has been in to the championship 4, and if he can continue to stay with that consistency, then no doubt I personally think he will be in the championship 4. Denny Hamlin, I mean, as much as I dislike him as a fan, but as an analyst and from my viewing, I do see him becoming a member of the championship for this year. But again, there's he's gonna have to win. Like he's the winningest NASCAR driver in history that does not have a championship ring or anything of that matter. Uh, and then, of course, Christopher Bell. Christopher Bell is a young, great driver. I love his work. He's amazing. There's only praise that I have for that man. There's honestly I have nothing bad to say about him. And then, of course, Chase Elliott. I think he's gonna continue to sneak his way, because some people would have him like uh, losing in the round of 8. But me personally, I think I think he could go the long stretch. I think he can go to the championship 4 this year if he continues to stay consistent and most importantly win. And then my 2024 NASCAR Cup Series champion, I am going with Christopher Bell. Even though I am a Joey Logano fan, I am going for Christopher Bell. Again, nothing bad I have to say about the driver, but there's only praise for that man. And so, again, these are my predictions and my opinions only. And of course, also a quick disclaimer, I'm sorry if I got any facts wrong. I am a new NASCAR fan, and I started this podcast out of boredom. So, yeah, thank you all for listening, and we'll talk about uh, the next race at Richmond next week after that race. So, thank you all so much for listening, and I'll see you next week.